3, 2, 1, and we're live. What's going on, bro?
Hey, man.
How
How you doing? Good. How's everything
Good?
going? Yeah?
I like this shirt. I just noticed it.
Oh, thank you. The shirt, guys.
It like matches well with the Red Solo Cup.
Definitely, I like to match. I mean, if you saw my sneakers.
Oh, yeah?
They're red too.
You know what's crazy? What do you think that we get out of that? Because you know how growing up, like, you grew up brown in Jersey, right? Like the matching of kicks and shirts, right? That was like a whole thing for a generation. And then when do you realize, like, hey, I'm too old for this? Because now when we talk to Ray, right? Ray's like, I have all these sneakers, but all I do is wear loafers or like business professional shoes.
Exactly. I just sometimes when you least expect it, we end up matching, like, because we buy a sneaker for a certain outfit sometimes, just for one outfit. But then we're like, wait, this is so comfortable. Let me just wear it with something else. And sometimes it gets to a point where, I mean, hey, I'm 31 now. I get to a point where, do I really care about matching or do I care about comfort?
Shit, you're 31.
Yeah.
Damn, bro, I did not know that. So I've probably known you for a bit. Let's start there. So I first started seeing you, I think the first time I saw you was when my dad was launching the Time Television thing, right?
Yeah.
You were around then, and then I just had heard, like, I've obviously like seen you at weddings probably before and after.
Right.
But at the time you were in the political space.
Right.
So what were you doing specifically back then?
Well, it started in college. I went to Seton Hall University in New Jersey. I was a poli-sci major with a criminal justice, so double major in both. I got into politics. I always had a passion for it, was very interested. And I just wanted to make a change, make a difference. That's what I felt like that's the way to go, the route I should take. Yeah. And I found the classes to be interesting. You know, a lot of us go to college as undecided. And then we're like, shoot, where do we want to lean towards? Where do we go towards, you know? And it's not the typical, hey, like, pushing towards being a doctor or engineer like brown people usually. So I got into that, and then I did some internships, and that's what I would tell everyone or advise is internships are very important. Internships make you realize what you want to do sometimes and whether you enjoy it or not. So for me, there was a program in Washington, D.C. and I mean, right before we started, we talked about it. I'm actually visiting D.C. this weekend. I love it there. It's one of my favorite cities, and it was the best time of my life. And what I learned there is a lot more than I ever did in my life.
So what is a political internship? Because I think for business internships, I think everyone kind of knows what it is, right? You're mirroring the function of that role, right? But what is a political internship? Because it's not like you can be a congressman, like in terms of like as a job.
Right. It's actually working in the community. As an intern, I went to a lot of different community events. I met a lot of different heritages. I learned a lot of cultures. I went to churches, mosques. I mean, I'm Muslim, so I do go to mosques, but like going to mandars and temples, or like, you know, a synagogue, or different. I learned a lot. I learned all kinds of people. We went to different parades, like in. So I interned for the congressman, Bill Pascrell, in our district in North Jersey, District 9, and there was different parades we went to, which I never went to before, and I learned a lot, and I picked up a lot, and I networked. Networking is number one, and a lot of people in our community, I don't know if they feel shy or they're scared to, and I networked a lot with these internships. And in political, like, you see so many kinds of people, and rich, poor, middle class, all kinds, and we as interns help constituents. Constituents are citizens who have a problem, who have a complaint with a pothole, or have a electricity problem.
When you say help, like, what do you mean? Like, what is that process? Like, is it just like going out, shaking hands, kissing babies, or like, is there like an actual process to like what your role was? Right.
So a constituent would call in, send an email, or even show up to the congressman's office and be like, hey, I need safety. I need help. Right.
Real quick, let me ask something, because I really want to know about this. Because right now, in like our current political climate, I think a lot of people are feeling hopelessness within our political system. So if I call my representative, right? Does that actually go somewhere? Like if I call in right now, right? Like if I say, hey, like I have this issue with this thing, does somebody actually like view it?
Yes, and that's where it gets escalated to a point where we as the interns, like where we started with this topic, we like to bring that up, escalate it to see how important it is, the severity of the issue. And we base it off of that. Of course, there could be some issues that are much more important that need action right away, rather than that's something small like, hey, I have a leak in my basement, rather than, hey, someone needs protection from their family or their husband or something like that. So I've seen requests from top there to down, like all kinds. But yes, it does go to the congressman's desk or the senator or the governor. It does go there, but to an extent where it's, I feel like that's where the problem is for a lot of people, where they're not getting their answers that they want. But the thing is, sometimes there's bigger fish to fry. There's other things that they have to face before that. Even if you work in business or whichever environment you work in, there's always, you have to rank, like, what's priority? Priority 1, priority 2, 3. So
what happens to that lower? I think that's where people are wondering, right? Like, do you just throw it in the trash? Like, what happens? Is there a follow-up mechanism, right? Because as somebody who's part of the body, right? General body, right? I have no political affiliation, nothing. So if I send something, I would want my request, no matter how minimal, to be followed up with. Is there like an instrument or something that actually happens, or what happens with those lower level ones? Right.
So for that, we usually follow up. I'm talking about 5-6 years back when I was there. We would follow up, and that's where the interns come in very handy, because they would follow up, keep track of all these complaints and all these issues that are coming in daily. There's more than people think, but as the congressman, he's working in DC. He comes back. He's doing events here, but there's a staff here. We're trying to build, in that office we took care of immigration policy, help people fill out applications, simple as just them not understanding English, helping them fill that out, and different things, different events we have to do, but it is answered. It is
followed up.
It does follow up. Maybe sometimes there's a second time, coming there, but like I said, it's the severity of the issue and ranking them priority-wise.
So if I, just so people who are listening understand this, right? So if I have a local level issue, right? Who should I be reaching out to? Because I think that's a big question that people don't really fully understand. Is it my mayor? Is it my councilman? Is it my Senate representative? Who should I be reaching out to?
Honestly, all of the above. You can reach out to all of the above, but if it's something like, hey, in front of your house a fire hydrant went off, that's something maybe you would go to the mayor, right? Maybe say it's something big, something more bigger, or something with immigration, someone in your family has an immigration issue. That was something you go to the congressman for, or the congresswoman, depending, because that's something that can get escalated faster, because they're working on the Hill. They have more volume, they have more, doors open where they could reach out to the federal government, reach out to the, immigration people, because that's what people do. When someone from the Congress office reaches out to the immigration office, things move much quicker. Rather than the local, which is a mayor or councilman.
Do people actually reach out for that type of stuff?
Yes.
For immigration things? Because I know that's huge in our community, right?
Well, right now, as you know, immigration is stopped. Everything that's going on, pandemic, everything that's people that have applied for their spouses or brothers and sisters, everything's on hold. So there's people that go and would be like, please, can you send a letter on the congressman's behalf? So someone from the office would send it, and I've done that for a few, just friends, family members, and you get a faster response. So I would suggest to anyone listening to this, or anyone that could forward this to their family and friends, reach out, because that's what they're there for. Politicians are not just there to be on, a billboard or on an advertisement. They're there to help, but people need to reach out as well and feel comfortable enough where they shouldn't think they're going to be ignored, because those are the people we're voting in.
I think when we, just my perspective on that and why maybe people don't, right, is because it feels so far removed from yourself, right? Oh, this is a senator, right? I thought about, I don't know, who used to represent here, Bob Menendez, right? I should be like, oh, that's Bob Menendez, right? But then you realize, oh, these people, like you're saying, right? These people are there for you, right? And although they might not feel like that 100% of the time, that is what their elected job is supposed to be, right? You kind of mentioned something that I wanted to follow back up with, right? You said a big part of it was like networking into these types of roles, right? Because I think a lot of people don't know how to get into politics, right? I've heard a lot of my friends say, hey, I want to be a political operative. And then when you follow up and they're like, all right, why can't you? And then they say, I don't have the connections, which is the big barrier to, I guess, immigrant families, period, right? Not having connections or having to build those connections by yourself, right? So you originally just applied, or how did that kind of process work for you?
To be honest, I just applied.
Okay.
And I interviewed, and I got in. You know, I'm not gonna say I'm lucky or blessed, but my resume spoke for, you know, itself. But, you know, before that, like I said, I did a semester in DC, which was on Capitol Hill. And then when I came back, I was an intern for the congressman, and then I worked for him during his campaigns. And basically, you know, after that, I mean, I referred some of my other cousins and friends and people I knew, and they got in as well. Sometimes word of mouth works, like any job or any place, but sometimes it's simple as applying and just giving it a shot. And I feel like sometimes in our community, and not knocking on anyone, it's just trying. Putting an application in. Yeah. You know? And,
I think the sentiment in our community, like, again, when me and Ray did this, we were like, not to generalize, but
same thing here.
I think there's a lot of the too cool to do it mentality, right? Like, oh, I'm because, like, I understood what you meant when you said, hey, you need to go, like, talk to people at these, like, events and stuff, right? But I think a lot of the thought there is, hey, why am I going up to this person and trying to, like, I don't know them.
Like, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Who am I? Why would he give me a business card?
Exactly.
Like, you know?
Right? I know, like, we're different in that sense, right? Like, my dad really encouraged me to do that early, right? So, like, it's different, but I understand why a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
Do you think that is, let me ask you this, and this is something I wanted to talk about. You were involved in North Jersey politics for a bit, right?
Right.
Why do you think we haven't elected a real senator, right, that's Bengali in those communities that are predominantly Bengali, right? Like, I don't know what district that is over for Jackson Heights, but that has to be a predominantly Bengali community, right?
Right.
Because we're important enough as a voting group where they come to our events.
Right.
Because I've seen, like, Hakeem Jeffries and, like, at these Bengali events, right? So clearly the voting block is important enough. Why haven't we been able to elect somebody? Even in Patterson, Clifton area, right?
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, right now in Patterson, I don't know if you know, but there's a councilman that's Bangladeshi.
Okay.
And has been since, I believe, 2014.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. But the thing is, sometimes it comes down to, rather than working as one or being in a community as a whole and backing that person up, sometimes within ourselves, I'm not going to call it a civil war, but, like, that's what it feels like. And it's like, it's not a competition, end of the day. If you're successful, I'm successful too. I feel like if we work together as a team, as a whole, why not? We could be even stronger. We could build ourselves. Now, there's been Bengalis in Patterson since the 1930s.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
1930s. And mind you, let me give a quick story. In Patterson, there's an area where there's Middle Easterns. South Patterson. There's over probably 10,000. Like, the whole side, it's like Oak Tree Road for Indians and Pakistanis. That's how Arab, you know, you've probably been to that area. Mind you, there's a councilman there now. He's, you know, Palestinian. No one ran against him this time. Because they're like, if someone runs against him, who's it going to be? One of his cousins, one of his peers, one of his classmates. They want him to succeed. They want him to grow. Of course, if he becomes mayor in the future, maybe somebody will come in. But I'm not saying it's like a dictatorship, but it's more like support in your own community, in your own kind. These people are from the same state in Bangladesh. Yeah. So, you know?
That's tricky, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't also want to see people get in that don't do you get what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Because that guy who's running unopposed, right?
Yeah.
We don't know any of his positions, right? He's never been challenged. He could be a piece of shit. I don't know, right?
But I feel like this Bengali, like, the first time this gentleman ran, he won. It wasn't against any Bengalis.
Okay.
He won. But after that, there's 3 other Bengalis running against him in the next election.
His chair or just for council?
His chair.
See,
but before, and mind you, I'm not calling out names or anything like that, but I feel like, okay, they're like, oh, if this nephew could do it,
why can't
not
do
your
it?
nephew? Oh, dude, he's nothing. You
Sorry,
can do it too.
this is maybe my ignorance. So for council positions, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like by like a district or a zone, because then maybe I would understand why they were going for his chair. Maybe he owns like the Bengali area chair.
It's just in Patterson. So I don't know how North Brunswick is. I know you guys are township, but in Patterson, there's like 6 different districts.
Okay.
So there's like areas, like I mentioned, the Palestinian is like Ward 6. Where most of the Bengalis live is Ward 2.
Yeah.
Where most of our families are and cousins and stuff. So that position I'm talking about. Why have 3 more people run against him? So the votes he got split in between.
Okay.
And then, this time they had a tie. They had a tie, and now, I mean, it's a lot more going on right now. Now they had a tie, so they're doing it again in November, special election. Now they have a temporary councilman who's Bengali as well, who's Gilman Chaudhry. He's like a teacher, but he just took the position as just for now until November, and he doesn't even want to run because some people don't want to do politics. But he was just given the position for now.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, I'm not, like you said, you're right. Maybe there's someone, he's not credible or he's not educated enough. But in this example, this guy was educated. He went to college. He has the credentials. But the other candidates never ran before. If they ran before, I would understand that they're politicians.
But it looks like they're just targeting his specific
and that's
chair.
where it goes back to, like I said, Bengalis have been here since the 30s, almost a century.
Yeah.
We should have at least a mayor, a few mayors. Yeah. Maybe a few
So why is that? Like, let's like outside of like, okay, like maybe we're not supporting each other, right? But we also, I don't know, like it's hard for me to just believe like that's it, right? Like I get it, we're in very concentrated places, right? Like when other Bengalis get around other Bengalis, that's just exactly where we live, right? Because we can speak of the areas that just have a bunch of Bengalis, right? 73rd on Jackson Heights, right? Patterson on Union, right? So we know where the Bengalis are, right? And that's for a good reason, right? Like we're a communal group, but I feel like other immigrant groups have been able to do this in a more accomplished fashion, right? Why haven't we been able to, right? Because we should be, like, here's the thing, we should have that seat, that Patterson seat, that should be locked up for ours forever, right?
Right.
Because that, just my view on politics, it should be representative of the people that you're representing, and that group is Bengali.
Right.
Right? And that Queens Jackson Heights seat, I don't know who is in it right now.
Right.
I know that for a fact they're not Bengali. That should be Bengali.
Yeah.
But why do you think that is? Like, what is that barrier that's stopping us?
I feel like one of the reasons could be going back to one of our previous conversations is not why me. Like some people are just afraid to try, to give it a chance. That's a great reason. Like some people are like, why me? Like why would they choose me? Who am I? Like I'm a nobody. But if you don't try, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right? I think Jordan said that, or so. Trying is one thing, and it's always looking for the easy way out. Sometimes with Bangladeshi people, I'm not gonna just say Bangladeshis, but maybe in all cultures. Yeah. But like, it's always sometimes I feel like the easy way out. Oh, I made it to this country. Let me just make an honest living, which is fine, which is good. You get your paycheck to paycheck, but how do we improve from that? How do we get better? And like you said, Jackson Heights should.
Let me counter this with an argument, right? I just thought about it, and maybe this is what I'm coming to, right? Right. I also think it's the immigrant challenge, because here's the thing: politics is a public service, right? Right. It's not a money-making machine. Right. Like you're not getting rich being in there, right? But I think that's a huge factor, right? Because if I'm a son or a daughter of an immigrant, right? My dad, mom busted ass so I could get through school, so I could be comfortable, right? Now, if I just kind of give that up for politics, right? It's not just giving up, but like for me to retire my parents is a lot easier through business than maybe politics, right? And also, this is something else I've like been seeing a lot more people kind of point out. A lot of political internships are unpaid, right? So that's a huge barrier.
Mine were unpaid, yeah.
Exactly, right? So I know like the summers that I interned, I needed that paycheck, right? Like for whatever, right? Social reasons, but I needed that paycheck. So that was something that drew me away from politics. So I actually started off as a political science major too. Right. Super like wanted to do that, like the whole political operative thing. Right. And then when I realized, holy shit, I'm not gonna see money for years, right? And I was like, all right, maybe I can do different things, right?
Right.
So I think that's definitely a barrier. Are you still involved in politics at all, or like have you kind of like stepped away?
And you brought up a great point. What I was gonna get into, the same reason, and it's not because I'm money hungry, but
It's a certain level of comfort.
I networked, I got my connections, and I kind of bounced.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because I saw the salaries, and with my experience, and, you know, I'm still working in the government. You know, I work in cybersecurity now for the U.S. Army, Department of Defense. I love my job. I've been there almost 5 years now. And, you know, I took my government experience. It did help with my resume and my references, obviously. And it opened doors. And to be honest, I'm making double now.
What is the average? What is like that? Like if I'm out of college, right, and I'm lucky enough to get like a political job, like what is like that salary like for like a staffer?
Woo, 35,000.
Really?
Yes.
On like what level are we talking about?
That's staff. You're like staff assistant for the councilman.
Like for a councilman or something?
Senator, 35. So I'll get into this. I interviewed for Cory Booker, the senator of New Jersey, in his Newark office, but the position was for in D.C. to be one of his staff assistants. It's a great honor. There's only 2 senators per state. Cory Booker's that time, what if he runs for president? You know, I was like, if I'm with him, wow, I better go to D.C. You know, I thought about all that.
Somewhere.
Who knows, right? Or like something like that. I thought about it, and then, you know, D.C., you've been around, one apartment, 1 bedroom's like $2,000.
Yeah.
If I'm making $35,000 after taxes, you know what it is.
But see,
you know, that's the thing.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a lot
of
of those jobs have to be taken by already rich, already affluent people, right? And
I've seen that.
You can't afford that, right? Like it's not feasible for you. Like you just said, right? It's not feasible for me to pay $2,000 when I'm on a $30,000 salary. Yeah. Unless I have family money backing me.
Thank you.
And I'm living off something.
So I met some of those kids, and those kids, they're not paying for their apartment. And they're going out on weekends and having fun.
It's like all profit.
They're not doing it for the $35,000.
Yeah.
They're doing it for their resume and to go up, people network, and then they're gonna run because their grandfather was a senator or their uncle was a governor, and that's how they move up. And it's not like I have to kiss ass.
See, that's a big barrier. No, that's a huge. I think we just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I doubt we're the first ones to say, but I think that is a huge barrier, right?
Yeah.
That's also probably a big explanation as to why most senators are wealthy, right? Mm-hmm. Because they have money from something else, right? Before, right? Because you only see 2 types of senators, right? A, they're already family rich and then they ran. Right. Or B, they became rich through whatever and then they were able to run, right?
Either or.
Yeah, because you're not making enough money as a senator, right? For your skill set to be worth it, right?
Right.
It's tricky. So like, now that you've exited the political space, right? Do you see or do you foresee like North Jersey politics changing a little bit? Like, are you seeing the shift? I know you talked about people running for that chair, but like, what can we do, right? Like, outside of getting people to run, right? Is that really it, or?
I've seen diversity. I've seen a lot more people of color running, different cultures, religions, and I don't know if the whole 2016 presidential election fired them up with Trump getting the nomination and then winning. But a lot of more people are speaking up now. I mean, with everything going on in 2020, but like just with the pandemic and the rallies and protests and everything going on, I mean, I feel like more people are like they're not afraid anymore to run or speak up even. And these protests are great and all and everything, but the number one thing is, as simple as it sounds, is people need to vote. And there was 40% of people that didn't vote that were registered last time.
And registered is an even smaller
percentage. I have friends in the Desi community and all communities. They're like, oh, Jersey's always a blue state. Why the heck am I gonna vote? It's gonna go to Hillary. It's gonna go to Obama. It's gonna go to Biden. They're like, I'm not gonna go vote. I'm not gonna get up, and it takes you 2 minutes. But one day that's gonna add up and make a difference, and the guy you thought was gonna win or the lady you thought was gonna win is gonna lose.
And we've seen that, right? We've seen that, right?
Close elections, right?
Like close elections, right? Or upsets, like very big upsets, like AOC when she ran, upset, right? It was funny. I was just I went out for drinks yesterday,
right?
And I didn't realize that yesterday was the last day of the RNC.
RNC.
So I get there and I get there and I see somebody in the Make America Great hat again, and I'm just thinking, oh, okay, maybe whatever. And then I start seeing like 2 more people with like, I'm just like, all right, like that's a coincidence. How many Trump supporters do you see in one place that often? Then I realized they're having like a watching party at this like restaurant that I'm at, right?
Oh God.
And this is going into my question for you. What is your take? Because sitting there, because I used to think like, oh, like how can you not see the absurdity of this, right? Of this character. But then like being there and listening to them talk about him and like their speeches, I was like, oh, y'all really believe this, right? It's not just like, because it's really simple for us to just be like, you're racist, right? But no. There's like, they have people of color there, right? They have like, and they're the ones speaking, and I'm like, oh, y'all really believe this?
Yeah.
So like, what is your view on that? Like, what is your view on this current election coming up? Like, we winning? Like, who's winning?
It's hard to tell because who we thought was gonna win in 2016 got 3 million more votes, but didn't get more electoral votes, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, what do we see? We're around people. I guess we surround ourselves with people that are like us. Hang out
We're
with
in a
us.
bubble.
You went to this restaurant. If you didn't go, you wouldn't have seen these people.
Absolutely not.
And you were there for different reasons, obviously, and you ran into them. So you do see it. Now, if I drive through neighborhoods now, I'll see a Trump sign 2020. I'll see that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, wait, in Clifton? In Patterson?
In Northeast US?
Yeah. And then I caught some of the RNC because, you know, flipping, and obviously the games got all postponed because of the strike and everything. So no sports, and I'm like, all right, let me put it on CNN. And a lot of people they're showing were of color. African American, Hispanic, different, like, they were showing more colored people than white people, to be honest. And maybe they're the few that is it, but it's a mix. It's a mixed crowd. Now, my take now is, it's like, majority of America, you know, we were blindsided in 2016. And if 40% didn't vote, I feel like as much as they say, oh, we need to go out and vote for Biden or whatever, their group can say, hey, we had this much percentage that didn't vote. I'm not going to say just white people, but Trump supporters. They might come out and vote. Then what? So it's like, there's a lot of people that didn't vote on both sides. And there's still undecided people because now people are saying, who do I choose? Which lesser of two evils? And that's what I've heard the past year, lesser of 2 evils. And everyone's like, you got 4 years to come up with a candidate. And this is, you know, for a lot of people's opinion. And they're like, we could have done better. We could have done better. Regardless,
Can you walk somebody through the nomination process? I think that's something that a lot of people don't fully understand, right? Like, how is that? Because I think people just think like, oh, like he just got more votes, right? Which we know isn't the case, right? There's a whole, you know, caucuses and things like that on how you get in there, right?
Right.
So like, can you kind of like walk through like what is that nomination process for like within the party?
So, like you said, caucus, that starts in Iowa.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, even what's that? You know, a lot of people don't get it. They're like, oh, is that just election vote? Yeah. It's actually representative delegates that they have of each state. So it depends on the size of the state. You know how we have electorals?
Yeah.
So like California has the most, 50 something. And then like some state like New Hampshire, Rhode Island could have 4 or 5.
Yep.
So it depends on that. And there's candidates, like you'll see it starts off with like 15, 17 candidates. No, I'm talking about candidates.
Oh, okay.
Like there was like 15 candidates in the beginning, right? But then it went down to like 12, then 10. You know what they see? They see some are not funded well.
Okay.
So you need funds. Believe it or not, even Donald Trump, as rich as he is, he has a campaign which people are donating millions of dollars, which he uses.
Yeah.
Of course, you could use your money, but you want that support because those big like companies and CEOs that are supporting you, you need that. So when a lot of candidates are not getting that, they'll automatically drop out. So by elimination, they're dropping. Now, when it gets to that, you know,
what happens to those delegates of the people who drop?
Then they move to another candidate.
Okay.
They'll go on to say.